Hey guys, Luke here from Hands and Heels, back for the Caulfield preview. So I had an extended intro in the Randwick preview, which was obviously the main meeting for Saturday, but there's a nice card at Caulfield. I'm just going to run through sort of my tips. I won't spend as much time on this card. Race 1, too messy for me. 2-year-olds again, you probably noticed a trend for me. Try not to get too involved in the 2-year-old races. Sometimes I'll have a little flutter, but you know, we've got a big field here. You know, it's just too messy. A lot of these runners on debut, there's only had 4 runners that have had starts before. So I think tune in. My advice on this race is watch the race. You know, find an eye catcher, find something you think that was held up and has got a bit of ability, and then you can try and take an angle from the race. You can, you know, work out how they go on times, whether there's lines for other horses, and the 2-year-olds start to take a bit of shape later in the season. I think be patient with them. There's no need to invest your money now when you haven't seen anything from them. Race 2, 1200 metres, is benchmark 64, and sort of 2 runners of interest. Written in Stone's my top pick in the race, so I do know the guy who owns Written in Stone, so I'll probably have a little bit biased towards it, but you've actually got to look at its form lines, and benchmark 70 last start, comes back to a benchmark 64 here, and was hopelessly held up last start at Ballarat. Don't know if it would have won, definitely places I think if it gets clear running, and it does strike me as the type of horse that likes the bit of galloping room, get down the outside. Barrier 6 potentially sticky again, but this is the drop in grade. You've just got to hope that it gets a bit of luck in running this time. If you're betting on a horse to run into bad luck, I think that's a bad strategy. So, you know, you're going to take it on trust. Barrier 6 is a decent gate. And I think it's got a bit of ability, and the form line's sort of stacking up. It's got form around Club Tropicana, who I think starts in a benchmark, I'll check it out later, it's at least a benchmark 78 later on, beat it first up. A few runners from that race have come out and won as well. So I think, and 1200 looks like it's going to suit. Darren Weir, you know, 3rd up now, so ticks a lot of boxes, quite keen on Written in Stone here. Mr. Optimistic, I'm keen to follow it this preparation. I just think it comes up as, it's a bit of an underrated horse. I think, you know, it's placed at pretty good odds a couple of times, and I was keen to follow it this preparation, but not sure if this is the right race. It's obviously benchmark 64 is probably a good grade for it, but barrier 13 first up with 61.5 kilos. I just don't know where it gets to, and I'd much prefer a Written in Stone here over Mr. Optimistic. But I'm keen to follow it, keen to see how it runs, and keen to follow this preparation. Don't Blush Baby's interesting. It showed ability, comes off a very dominant last start, but it was a Cranbourne Class 1. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on it, but I think it could have been heavy track that day as well. But interesting to see how it runs. I wouldn't be shocked if it won, because it won quite easily, but you're guessing to and sort of drawing the dots together, hoping that it measures up here. This is a big step up, and I'd much rather Written in Stone coming back in grade, only being 3rd up here, than Don't Blush Baby at a similar price. Race 3 we'll go to. You know, Holy Freeze has been one I've been keen to follow. Last start obviously had a very short SP, so you've got to take that into account here, and it ran creditably. It ran 3rd, pretty bunched finish on their heavy track at Sandown. So a funny track. Now we get to, you know, a fair Caulfield hopefully. The start before on the dry track was actually better than the last start run on their heavy, so potentially Holy Freeze might like a dry track. And off breeding, you know, the distance as it goes up towards a mile, you think it's just going to keep getting better with the rise in distance. So the query with Holy Freeze is the map, barrier 12. I just think surely they have to roll forward here and give this horse a good chance and give it a chance to tough it out. So I'm finding a bet on Holy Freeze there. Not really interested in much else. Maxi is interesting because it's a dropping grade. It's been pretty competitive in some strong races in the spring, but it hasn't won this preparation, and you know, 2 starts ago was poor. So, you know, it seems like a bit of an enigma, and I don't know if I want 550 the price of the horse. But you know, interesting to note that it's the one coming down in grade from harder races this spring. Race 4, and pretty handy 700 metre race, benchmark 70. I think Vinland could be a model. He's probably my best of the day. I just think it shut in last start on the heavy track at Sandown. The start before was 5th in the Sandown Guineas. I think that's the name of the race, the Group 2 that Villemont won. Bloomed into it, and the thing is, you got to remember, it was a 2nd up off a massive spell. massive rising distance, and then improve third up, staying at the mile. So fourth up now, 1700 is probably just perfect. Barrier 6 soft gate. He doesn't have to lug a massive weight, but obviously he's carrying its fair share for a 3-year-old colt. But I think if it improves off last start, which I'm leaning towards that it will, I think it's very hard to beat. Red Chew, very long first prep, so this will be its first preparation, and it's going to be its 9th start. But that is not a positive for any trainer, but I think it's less of a negative, the fact that it's Darren Weir. So Darren Weir horses deeper into preparations, they normally can hold their form and he can keep them up. He uses obviously a lot of the beach work to try and keep them fresh. You've got to trust that this horse is still running and training well and ready to run a race. I don't think it has the upside of a Vinland or all the form lines of a Vinland, but I think it can be competitive as the top 4 runner. And the tone's interesting because it was second behind Vinland last start, beaten pretty comfortably on its merit, but it was only its 2nd career start. So now comes here third up, this preparation and for career, and gets weight relief off Vinland as well. So turns the tables weight wise, arguably improves more, only being its 3rd start of its career. So I've probably got a Tone 2nd pick and Red Chew 3rd pick. Race 5, very hard to knock Mrs. Gardenia. Very consistent horse. Darren Weir again, hasn't finished worse than 2nd this preparation in 5 starts. Hugely consistent. This is no harder than her last start. The only thing is, my slight concern with Mrs. Gardenia is she's got a lump of pretty big weight. Even after the claim, she's carrying 58 kilos. And there's a horse like Eureka Street, for example, that could be a possible big improver 2nd up in distance, and gets the 4 kilos relief off Mrs. Gardenia. So my concern with her is I think she'll be honest, but my concern is that she may find one better. Race 6, I am interested, sorry. What am I on about? Prince of Pacoda. Showed him last start up to 2,400 metres, very impressive at Bendigo. Was beaten by Bint El Badou the start before, but maybe this horse is bred to be an out and out distance horse, and that I'm thinking potentially the 2,400 was the trigger last start, that it was a big improver. So it's clearly suited by the distance, and it's got a good draw. So Prince of Pacoda is definitely a run of interest. Bint El Badou is running well. I was actually on last start, so you have some type of bias to stick when you're on, but you've got to take the race at face value, and I prefer Prince of Pacoda purely on a map perspective, because Bint El Badou from gate 13, it's a horse that likes to get back anyway, so it's probably going back near last. You got to be good to win from last, and I'm not sure if Bint El Badou is that good. Serenade the Stars looks a bit of a one batter, but I think based off breeding and things as well, I think could be a big improver up to 2,400 metres. So definitely got Prince of Pacoda and Bint El Badou ahead of Serenade the Stars, but that's the way I'm leaning there. Race 7, I'm not interested in betting just because it's a very big field and there's knocks on a lot of these runners. None of these runners just jump off the page and go back me. So I'm going to skip over it. Race 8, similar to race 7, tricky race. Wasn't really keen in backing anything, but I'm probably going to have something small on Thermal Current. So Thermal Current was good first up and has great 2nd up stats. So if it can run up to what it did first up and improve, obviously right in the mix. Gets Darren Weir and Damien Lane combo, which is a pretty successful combo. And its best form is good enough. It's ran in Group 1s and things like this. Obviously, Crystal Dreamer is deserved favourite. It's been flying. 2nd to Ball of Muscle. Dominant win at Sandown last start. My problem with Crystal Dreamer is the wide gate, starting to carry a bit heavy weight, and then also the 1100 metre record isn't that flash. But it doesn't mean the horse doesn't run 1100 metres. It could merely be a coincidence, but these are the numbers we've got to work off. Not really interested in much or in the race, sorry. So thermal current each way, at the moment I think it's $7. I think you can, have a bit of a crack there, and not keen on playing Crystal Dreamer at the price, but I haven't got much of a knock. Race 9, which is 1100 meters. Benchmark 84. So 2 runners I wanted to back with a lightly raced Club Tropicana and Creativity. I just think as 4-year-old mares, they've got a lot of upside. They're returned well this preparation. Creativity was second, first up at Ballarat, and was quite good. Finally draws a gate. This horse has had a tendency to draw wide gates, which is obviously not its fault, but it's made its job a bit harder. Damien Lane engaged as well, and it also 1 second up last prep. So this horse has spiked a bit of interest. And Club Tropicana has returned a better horse's preparation. Down in the weights and barrier 1 should get a nice suck up there. So I think one of those two can win. And that's it for the Caulfield card. So just recapping here on my bets. I'll be backing Written in Stone, quite confident. Race 2. That's probably it for that race. Race 3, I'll be backing Holly Freeze. Race 4, I think Vinland is a moral. I'm going to be buttering up pretty heavily there. This one. Race 5. Probably backing Mrs. Gardenia. Probably wants $3. $2.80 currently, so $2.90. So if I can get $3, Mrs. Gardenia, I might jump in. I'm not sure yet. And potentially looking at saving Eureka Street. I think it's a possible improver second up and up in distance. Hard to know. Once again, a bit of a guessing game, but that's the nature of the beast. So we'll go down to race 6. Prince of Pacoda is my top pick in the race. I may also back Bint El Badu. A bit scared to Serenade the Stars, but can't back them more. We'll be playing Prince of Pacoda definitely. Not sure on Bint El Badu yet. Hoping he gets out a bit in price. Race 7, I'm not betting. Race 8, I didn't mind Thermal Current each way. And race 9, be backing both Club Tropicana and Creativity as lightly raced mares with a bit of upside. So thanks again for tuning in, guys. I hope we can find a few winners on Saturday. Don't forget, if you've listened to this video first, we've got the Randwick preview for the Villiers Stakes Day, and I do run through a little bit about tracks and things like that as well. So till next week, happy punting guys. Cheers.